Hi, it's Benny the Bookie again, and this is my channel. Today, I would like to review Jade City by Fonda. This book has been on my bucket list for a while to read, so I'm excited to do this review today. I know some people think this is, top 10 all-time great fantasies, and others on, lists, of some of the best fantasy there has ever been. I'll get into that if I feel the same way at the end of my review. But I have to say, I am very much impressed with what Fonda does here. Fonda has created this work which is influenced by The Godfather and definitely Hong Kong gangster and martial arts movies. That's what I felt. I mean, I really could feel the Hong Kong action movie vibe from reading this book, with a touch of magic. And we'll get into the magic a little bit later. When I was reading this book, I mean, maybe others have had that same experience. I couldn't get out Quentin Tarantino's Kill Bill Volume 1. And if you've seen that movie, you know what I'm talking about. I mean, it's that type of action, Asian-influenced action scenes. So our setting is the small island of Kikon. Now, Kikon's a small island, and it has something, a great resource, though. And of course, then everybody wants it, and that is Jade. Jade gives people the ability to enhance their magical abilities. And there was once this great war, and these bigger nations tried to take over Kikon, this small island. And let's just say it didn't go well for them. They were pushed back. And they were pushed back because there are people in Kikon that have the genetic makeup, if you like, to be able to use Jade, known as the Green Bones. And they're a group called the Mountain Society. And they push back the invaders and the occupiers out of Kikon. And from that, of course, as being the saviors of all of Kikon, not just Jade users, but everyone, they become almost like gods to this small island. They rule everything. They rule the government, the economy. All goes around Jade, so they control that. And the criminal underworld. And that's the main thing, it's the criminal underworld. So you have this group called the Mountain Society. And of course, as years go by, after the war, they break up into different factions, vying for power. A power struggle happens, and it gets down to eventually two clans. The No Peak clan, ruled by the Call family, and their rivals, the Mountain clan. And so these two clans, they start breaking up the island of Kikon into territories. And, they have their own criminal interests, criminal underworld, business, legal and illegal businesses. They are control the government, what have you. So these two rival gangs were left in the sense of the protectorates of the island of Kikon. And And that's the story, basically. It's these two rival gangs going at each other for control of Kikon. And what's best for Kikon's survival. So we have the No Peak clan. And they're, if you want to say it, they're basically heroes of the story. And they are ruled by Lan of the Call family. Lan is what they call a pillar. He's the top person of the clan. Everything goes through the pillar. And he has just come to power to be the pillar. His grandfather, who was part of the Great War, has reluctantly gave up being the charge of the clan. And so, and he basically gives it up because he's going senile and crazy, and he has dementia, and you could almost say Alzheimer's is certainly there. So he's given it up. And the grandfather, once again, he was just this big warrior, green bone warrior, bigger than life. And he helped fight back the invaders, the foreign invaders. And now his his grandson is now in charge, Lan. And Lan's a little bit different. He doesn't come off as ruthless. He wasn't part of the wars. He is into strategy. And how would you say it? Some would call him even soft in the No Peak clan. And I think this is one of the things he fights with in the book, Lan does. And Fonda Lee does this so well. And it's a really quick quote, but it kind of gives you an idea of the story in general and one of the major themes in the novel. Was it possible, Lan wondered, to be both a strong leader and a compassionate person? Or were those two things opposing forces, pushing each other away? And that's it. He's compassionate. He'll fight if he has to, but he really doesn't want to fight. I mean, these two clans, No Peak and Mountain, have been living in harmony for the most part. I mean, there's some bloody skirmishes every once in a while, some bloodshed, but they accept each other for the good of the whole island of Kikon. But Lan is new to the job, and so he needs to show his strength, to show he's not soft. And then you have someone that's completely different in most ways, and that's Hilo, his brother. Hilo is what we call the Horn. He's like the capo, second in charge. And he rules the fist, as they call them, and then lower than that, the fingers, the soldiers of the gang. Hilo is passionate. Everything, he's passionate, he's ruthless at times. He is an old-style, traditional gangster in this clan, to be honest. He would have been great if there was an actual war going on. But, with that said, Hilo's issue is where he gets into trouble and why he's not the top person is they're worried about him because Hilo is so passionate towards his family and his clan, and his emotions sometimes dictate how he reacts to things. And this certainly will come into play during the novel. And then finally we have Shay. Shay decided to study abroad. She's given up Jade, the magic of Jade, and using Jade. She doesn't want to be part of the organization of the clan, of the No Peak clan. She just wants to be her own strong woman that doesn't need her family to get ahead in the world. And as our book begins, she has come home. And there's a little bit of angst with the other family members in the clan No Peak. As a member of the Call family, you're supposed to be using your Jade and the magic, being part of No Peak. And she doesn't want to do that as the story begins. She's returned home. She still, cares about her family and what have you. But she wants to break out on her own and not use Jade. And then on the other side, you have their rivals, the Mountain Clan. And the pillar of the Mountain Clan is Mata. Now, she was adopted into this family because the founder of this clan lost a lot of his family members during the war. Mata, she is, put it simply, she's ruthless. And maybe that's one of the themes you have in this book with this character, is in this world that is very traditional in some ways, the male-dominated traditional world that's played with traditionalists and how times are changing. But with Mata, to be a woman in this world, do you have to be ruthless and only care about one thing, getting to the top any way you can, even with bloodshed? I mean, she basically, after her father dies, she is not given the role of being a pillar, to be the head of the clan going forward. It's given to somebody else. She's not happy about that, and she basically takes care of her rivals. Yeah, she eliminates them, and you can guess how. Yeah, she kills them and comes to power. And her goal, as mentioned, is she wants to be the only clan for the betterment, she believes, of Kikon. And she's ruthless, she's intelligent, she knows strategy. And then her second is the Horn again, is a man named Gaunt. He's kind of your bigger than life character. He's huge, big Jade user, the muscle. He is feared on the island of Kekon and in the capital city of Janloon, where basically these two rival gangs are headquartered at, but they have broken it up into territories. And so you have those two rival clans fighting each other. And something will happen to where they were accepting of each other. Maybe trying to get one up on the other. There wasn't bloodshed, a lot of bloodshed. But something happens, and no spoilers as always, a gang war erupts. And you have Jade warriors fighting each other for supremacy of Kekon. And I think that's where really, for me, where I started really enjoying the book is after this happens, this event. It just, I was very much into the book, invested in the book. So I want to talk about some of the things I enjoyed about the book. I very, very much loved how one of the themes is family. And it takes a little bit of time. But the characters, you really do get entrenched, invested with these characters as the book goes along. It takes a while. For me, it did. And I was sitting here for a while reading this book, saying, well, why? Yeah, it's good and all, but why are so many people raving about it? Like, this is one of the best fantasy books ever. I'll give you my opinion on that at the end of this video, but I was really thinking, am I really going to finish this book or not at one point? And then I was saying, well, it's good. I'll keep reading it. And then you really care about the characters, especially the Call family, Lan, Hilo, Shay, Arden, their cousin, which could be a whole video in himself, who's adopted. So you have that. And I think that's one thing about great fiction and great fantasy I've always found. You have to care about the characters. The author has to do a good job at developing the characters. So you have somebody to cheer for and to tear for as you read the book. And that probably is another reason. I mean, the last 100 pages of that was just flying through. I had to keep reading it. Anytime I had time to read, I'd be reading the book to see how it would end, because I was so invested with the characters. Now, I wouldn't say it's, for me, it doesn't hit a 5. If I was going to give a rating of 5, up to 5 stars, probably a 4.5 maybe. I felt the villains, though, they weren't very well done. I mean, they were not developed enough for my taste from other books I have read, and also this book itself. I really wanted more of Atmata. And then Gaunt, her henchman, the Horn, he doesn't have a lot of play in this book. And he could have had some more pages and be more well developed. So I don't think the villains are very developed in this book as much as the hero family, the Call family. So if you're expecting, something where you're getting a lot of villain POV, you're not getting it in this book. That's okay. Nothing wrong with that. It's just one of those things for me. It's where it doesn't make a 5, because I just felt that there was something lacking in that. I want to give one other positive, is that I love the magic system. I didn't go into it much, because it kind of ruins it in some ways, but the magic system of using Jade that helps their abilities. I mean, magic where you can become impenetrable, or you can deflect bullets, or even kill just with that power of how much Jade you have. Was really good. So in conclusion, I certainly agree with a lot of the raves that people have had on this book. I mean, there are authors that I very much enjoy, and so I like Ken Liu, which I would tell you, if you haven't read the Dandelion Dynasty, do read that. I'm sorry, I know this is about Fonda Lee, but yeah, if you haven't read Ken Liu's Dandelion Dynasty, you have to read it. That is a great series, and he loves this book and raves about it. So I can see that. There's a lot there. It is a wonderful world she creates. And I'm glad I read it. I just don't think it's one of the greatest fantasies ever, and that's okay, I guess. I'm a little picky. Benny the Bookie is very picky when he says this is a great book, and you'll see that. If you see my Goodreads, you'll see I give a lot of 4s, but I don't give a lot of 5s usually, because for me, a 5 has to be great. It has to be one that I will be talking for years and years and years. So, maybe you want to give this book a chance. Jade City by Fonda Lee. As always, support your local libraries. And I will be back again soon.